Word of the week. For such a time as this. Remember, on these Word of the Week videos, I cut out a lot of details just to get to the main point, but it's your job to go back and read the story. So Esther's the queen, and in her time, there's an evil man named Haman that works for the king that's trying to put to death all the Jews. Little did the king know, Esther, his wife, was a Jew. So Esther's uncle named Mordecai reaches out to Esther and he says, look, you need to go talk to your husband, the king, and tell him what this Haman is doing and save the Jews. For who knows, maybe God put you in this position for such a time as this. And you got to understand that at this time, it was law that if you went into the king's quarters without being invited, that you could be put to death. Now, the word of the week here is for such a time as this, and that's what we're going to focus on. Remember what God told Joshua in Joshua chapter 1, to only be strong and courageous, Rak Kazak Amatz. This is the same attitude that Esther had to have walking into the king's quarters. This was an uncomfortable situation for Esther. This was a situation where she was going to have to be strong and courageous in her God. Because without the favor of God, she might just lose her life. Remember, there's no need to be strong and courageous in easy situations. There's only a need to be strong and courageous in tough, difficult situations. And also remember that every giant is an opportunity. An opportunity for you to demonstrate your faith and run at them, or an opportunity for you to demonstrate the lack of faith and run away. God hasn't called you to easy. He's called you to hard. Because when situations are hard and obstacles are tough and there's a giant standing in your way, you have to lean on God to get through it. Now going back to that word of the week, for such a time as this, that Mordecai said in Esther 4:14, he also said that even if you don't live up to the calling that God has for you, that God will deliver us another way. You see, God's going to get done what he needs to get done, whether you decide you're going to fulfill the calling he has for you or not. But he's called you to it. So only be strong and courageous and live up to the calling that God has for you, because it's not about you. It's about glorifying him and trusting in his will for you. So the next time you have to do something difficult, or the next time a giant stands in your way, just remember, maybe you were called for such a time as this to glorify God. Long story short, she goes in to see the king. She does not die. She exposes the plan of Haman, and all the Jews are preserved while Haman is hung on the gallows that he made for the Jews.